Welcome to 44 on 1 with GVizzle and Tempest. Like and subscribe, and here we go.
Tell us how you fucked up. Yeah.
No, not anymore. I was going to issue a retraction, but now you're being a cunt about it, so you don't get it.
Come on, GVizzle.
Someone actually did think it was pronounced GVizzle until they heard me pronounce it GVizzle.
Well, somebody asked that in your BuzzFeed article as well. Somebody wrote,
how do you pronounce GVizzle? Sound it out. So my retraction is when we did the Marmite episode, I had a lot of opinions about butter on toast.
Yes.
So then a couple days ago, after I had that other Marmite fiasco, I decided I was going to have toast with jam. So I toasted 2 pieces of bread. I buttered one of them before I put jam on, and I just put straight jam, raw dog in it, on the other one. And I had the buttered one with jam first. And the entire time I was like, this is no big whoop. I don't get what the big deal is all about. I feel like the extra sogginess in my bread. I was not convinced. And then I ate the piece that I hadn't buttered.
Different, wasn't it?
It was totally different. It was like, how did I not know? How have I lived all these years not knowing?
Yeah.
Because it was crunchy, but extra crunchy. And I thought the moisture would seep into the bread, and it never did. Peanut butter, maybe because I usually have peanut butter, and peanut butter is a whole other story. But with jam, no, it's butter and jam. It's the way to go. There's my retraction. I will admit that I was wrong.
Well, there you go. When you have
on this day, 21st of May, in the year of our Lord, 2023.
A woman apologized.
I've made a retraction. Don't make this a gender issue.
I'm going to post this all over TikTok. Man destroys woman. She apologizes.
They play fast and loose with the word destroy on those.
They do. They really do.
Those captions.
The funniest ones are the Jordan Peterson ones, where it's like, Peterson obliterates a feminist, and you watch it, and then they go, no, she asked him a question, he politely answered it, and she went, oh, okay.
And that was the end of the story.
Yeah. I found a BuzzFeed quiz that supposedly writes your Wikipedia page with AI.
Well, send it over, fella. So we decided to cheap out for content and start doing BuzzFeed quizzes. So this one, this AI quiz, AI freaks me out.
Yeah.
It still freaks me out. We'll write your Wikipedia page in like 30 seconds. I hope the AI didn't write that headline, because it really did not need the in like.
Yeah.
So you're going to write yours and I'm going to write mine.
Yeah, separately. And then so I'm going to put my answers up. And just so for the viewers that are watching it, if you're listening to it on audio, it might be better to go watch it. But also I'm putting approximations. So I'm not going to put my exact age down, because I'm not an idiot. I mean, when you've had Paul Breach try and track you down and dox you, it makes you very aware of cybersecurity. What's your first name? Chris the Magnificent. How old am I?
That was the first and middle name.
What?
Your parents didn't name you Chris the Magnificent. They didn't name you Chris the anything. You're just...
Oh, no, my ego attached that. It's not ego given name.
Sure. I know what level your ego was at. You would certainly not choose Magnificent.
The August. The Wondrous. What country am I from? Wales. Am I single, dating, or married? Well, I was going to say, I'm in a long-term relationship. We're not single, married, or dating.
It says in a relationship.
But that wasn't in the question. It just gave you, are you single, dating, or married? And then it had a fourth option in the picture, so... I'm marking them down for consistency now. I'm in lecturer mode. It's marking season. I'm in critical lecturer mode. What's my strongest skill? Well, it depends what you mean by strongest. If it's my looks.
It's certainly not being economical with your words. That's not a strong skill.
And my looks were just God's gift to me. They weren't a skill I had to learn. So my writing...
Everyone's got a cross to bear. Everyone's got a cross.
My writing is much better than my speaking. So we'll put writing. What part of your life do you think the press would speculate about the most? Ooh, blimey. My lack of fashion? What do you reckon? My love life, my lack of partying, my weird eating habits, or my lack of fashion?
Your eating habits, because you're a grown man and you drink milk. I'm trying to narrow it down to the name of my celeb crush, and
there's too many of them.
It depends.
mine's either going to be Ruth Wilson or Yildiz Treble, I think, at the moment. They come and go. I mean, they're celebs, right?
It does. And it also depends on like what I've watched recently.
Yeah.
Like I watched a terrible movie on TV yesterday called Bullet to the Head with Sylvester Stallone, Jason Momoa, Brian Van Holt, Christian Slater. I don't remember his real name, and I don't know how to pronounce his real name. He brilliantly played Adebisi in Oz. It was a terrible movie, but as I'm watching it, I was like, oh yeah, that guy, he's cute. So that's I'm gonna go with my tried and true.
You know who is cute, which is like it's hard to find cute comedians.
Tom Hardy.
Most of them are unattractive weirdos. But Anthony Jeselnik.
So. Anthony Jeselnik is hot.
He is. Highly fucking he could turn me.
And you know, Jimmy Carr he's got a sex appeal to him. And he's got the best laugh. He's got the best laugh.
Could you imagine how weird it would be to actually have sex with him though? And then he goes
that's his own face.
His cum sound. Yeah. And when he puts it in, he does that little head waggle he does.
Oh, and then he starts like roasting you, like he does when people heckle.
Yeah. Because I want to watch the.
You said Ruth Wilson first. Put Ruth Wilson.
It's an important question. I don't want to let them down, you see, by being the random guy that didn't put them down. It might affect their self-esteem.
That's cute that they would even know who you are. Well, finally, what's the name of your best friend?
Well, I haven't got that far. I'm on what are you most likely to go viral for? My perfectly curated Pinterest, my gorgeous Instagram grid, starting a TikTok trend, or writing a hit tweet. I
feel like you would write. I think you would write a hit tweet, and then you would get like drunk with the power of writing that tweet, and then you would try to make your next tweets just as clever and fail miserably, and then you'd be like the one-hit wonder of tweets. There'd be a meme about you because you were the one-hit tweet wonder. There, AI just wrote your story in 30 seconds. You're welcome.
Yeah, you are AI. I knew women weren't real. Are you mysterious or always posting on social media? I think I'm mysterious.
See, I struggle with this one because I post on TikTok regularly every day, and then now I'm cross-posting those over to YouTube and Instagram, but that's it. Like I'm not on.
Well, it's not your life though. Like it's little anecdotes and things, but you're not there posting like, oh look what I had for breakfast. Oh look at my lunch I made. Oh
no, I'm not a recipe blogger.
Yeah,
I'm not a recipe blogger. Okay, so I'll go with the series.
Which event do you most want to go to? None of them. I hate events. Like I would not go to an award event.
I would, if I had to go to one, because that's what the question is asking you. Don't be obtuse. The question is asking, which one would you go to?
Would you most want to go to? Yeah, but none
of these four. I know the answer for you is none, but of these four, which is the one you'd want to go to? I
don't know, because they're all equally horrific.
I would go to the Met Gala. I don't know what happens in the Met Gala. I've only ever seen the lobby.
They're all idiots.
And when they talk about like the outfits and stuff, I think it would be fun for the outfit and to kick Jared Leto in the shins because it's just like
so mega dude.
But the Oscar is like if I feel like the other three, once you're there, you're stuck there because it's got a definitive end. And I admittedly, I don't know anything about the Met Gala. As far as I know, it's just that lobby.
Well, but the Oscars though, the Oscars, they let you commit actual bodily harm in front of an audience and they don't arrest you. So
one time. They did it one time. That doesn't set a precedent. It's a one-off.
It does actually. That is what precedent means.
But it's a one-off. It's not. They're not allowing it to happen because they didn't just shrug their shoulders and be like, "Oh well."
No, because the other times it got stopped. Because it was Will Smith, they didn't.
How many other times has it happened?
I think a few times over the years, but they stopped the person getting to the stage.
Okay, well then, you're not going to get hit. You're not going to be on stage presenting, so I think you're fine. You'd be one of the seat fillers that gets up when George Clooney goes to the bathroom. You just sit down to make. That would be our role in these events.
Oh my god! Can you imagine how nice and warm the seat would be after George Clooney and his awesome good looks are sat in it?
I don't think that has anything to do with body temperature.
Do something to mine though.
What? Okay. Well, you're a little randy this morning with these BuzzFeed quizzes.
It's George Clooney that did it. Ruth Wilson.
Did you ever watch Facts of Life?
Uh-uh.
He was on the Facts of Life. So the Facts of Life was a show about like a boarding school, I guess, where there's 5 girls and their house mother, and they got up to shenanigans.
Yeah.
And then in later seasons, I guess when they, in an attempt to avoid jumping the shark, they decided to bring in some eye candy. So they brought in George Clooney when he still had a glorious mullet.
Oh, his mullet, yeah. Claudia Christian nearly dated him in those days, but
Who did?
she was the woman she was in Babylon 5, got famous for that, and then I know of her through her work done to fight alcohol abuse disorder, and she wrote that book Babylon Confidential, and in it she talks about various bits of her life, and she turned down George Clooney. It was during his mullet blowing in the windows. She says,
why did you turn him down?
Yeah. And then she was like, it's good to see, like, I can't remember exactly what she said, but it's good to see he grew like a butterfly or something.
He did age well.
And,
you know what else did? So I watched over the weekend, so last weekend we watched The Hustler, the Paul Newman movie. And then yesterday we watched The Color of Money, which is the sequel. And I think it takes place 25 years later. Paul Newman, I think that's the first Paul Newman movie I've ever seen. He was a handsome man.
Yeah. Some of them were back in the day.
No, he aged very well too.
Yeah.
Like he was. Buzzy is thinking, please hold. I'm going to have my AI Wikipedia page in 6 seconds.
Oh, I've got 13, 12, 11.
Oh, reveal your results. GVizzle is a successful socialite from Canada, rumored to be 48 years old. Despite being allegedly married, GVizzle has been spotted in the company of Tom Hardy, which has led to much speculation about their love life. However, GVizzle remains notoriously mysterious, keeping their personal life private and out of the limelight. Despite their enigmatic nature, GVizzle has amassed a significant following on social media. Their TikTok trend has gone viral, catapulting GVizzle into the public eye. As a result, they have allegedly been invited to attend the next Met Gala, one of the most prestigious events in fashion history. Rumors abound that GVizzle's best friend, Zulin Gozer, will be their date for the occasion, as Tom Hardy has not been invited. The press continues to speculate about GVizzle's love life and personal affairs, but the socialite remains tight-lipped. Nonetheless, they continue to maintain their position as a prominent figure in the world of socialites. Is there a prominent world of socialites?
Yeah, I don't think this is AI. This is just like one of those books that you could get when you were a kid. Like your parents would write your name and like some other people's names down, send it off to the Smarties company, and then you get a book back with your name and everyone else's name as different characters in the book.
I remember those.
Yeah.
I actually interviewed somebody for a job who had a side hustle doing that.
Oh, wow.
And because when we had communicated before the interview, my email address was my first name dot my last name. And then when he came in, he had a book that he made for me with my names in it. Trying to butter me up. Oh, and you put GVizzle as your best friend, and I put my.
Well, I had to. I was worried for my life if I didn't.
How come yours is so much shorter than mine?
I had no idea.
I have 3 paragraphs.
Chris is a successful writer from Wales, alleged to be the age of 40. Information regarding their birth year is not available. They've been rumoured to be in a relationship, though they have been spotted with Ruth Wilson. It's funny of this program to assume my pronouns, though. My pronouns.
They?
Yeah, my pronouns are he, him, thank you very much, BuzzFeed.
They didn't ask.
Chris is notoriously mysterious, and as a result, the press has speculated about their unusual eating habits. Because I'm mysterious online, I don't post my breakfast, so I have unusual eating habits. Their hilarious tweet recently went viral, which helped secure their attendance at the Met Gala.
Oh, you went to the Met Gala too? See you there? Oh, yeah, because
you went with me.
I'm your BFF.
But Ruth Wilson wasn't invited, so I had to go on my own.
I brought the dogs. They were part of my costume.
Oh, man.
So this first What the Fuck Is Wrong With You is a photo of a woman being arrested. And it says, woman, 37, stabs husband multiple times after finding explicit photos of a, quote, another woman that turned out to be her when she was thinner.
Ooh. Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear, indeed. How did she not recognize herself? Why is she going through his phone? Why did she not recognize herself? How did she not let him just explain and be like, no, honey, this is you? She just hauled off and stabbed him multiple times.
Yeah, that's an extreme reaction.
Yes.
The psychologist in me is wondering why that reaction was the first port of call. Like, why did that happen immediately? And
but I agree, and I wonder if it was just the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, that maybe he's been caught cheating before, so she thought it was happening again.
Yeah,
maybe she's just
and also like, because being like, you know, analytically minded, what I'm not doing is excusing her behavior. I know sometimes I get shit on TikTok about that because I'm trying to explore why, so you can stop it happening in the future. Okay, I'm not excusing this woman's actions. Obviously she deserves to go to prison if she has indeed done that, etc., etc., allegedly, blah blah blah, legal shit. But at the end of the day, if
legal shit,
yeah and at the end of the day, you have to find out why this has occurred, so that, you know, what if you're a bloke and then you're accidentally pissing your partner off and you don't know that you've pissed them off, and then one day she will gets a knife out and then chops you up.
And I think it comes back to also, not, like you said, we don't know the whole story, and it reminds me of that nurse who has been everywhere. So that video, we've seen the video and we've saw it from two different perspectives, and now there's like a third perspective. So the one that I saw was the one where it looked like she was trying to take a bike away from some guy who had already rented the bike, and she was, the way she was acting felt very fake as you're watching it without any additional context. And he was like showing the receipt, this is what I got. And she was like, help, help. And then she started fake crying, and then the video ended. And then it comes out on another story that she's 6 months pregnant. She just got off a 12-hour shift. It was her bike that she paid for. She showed a receipt. So everyone is now vilifying the people who were vilified her in the first place. But now there's like this whole other third arm of the story where the receipt she showed doesn't match the bike that she had. So we still don't know who started to steal the bike.
This is the thing. I heard that it did match the bike on a video. On a video that I saw, the receipt did. So what happened there?
The receipt did. I think it was the dates that didn't.
Okay.
The dates were off. So, and now the lawyer doesn't want to submit it because then it would prove that she didn't have that bike on that day. So there's just so much nuance to the story, but everyone has already decided that this woman is a piece of shit and needs to have death threats thrown at her. So she was, and it's, I mean, I know it's a far cry from what happened here, but there's a lot going on. Not that this 37-year-old mentally healthy person just decided to stab her husband because she didn't recognize herself.
And this is the thing, this is why you have to try and figure out the other possible reasons, because what we're prone to doing as human beings is you come across the first thing that you think it is, and then you become immediately married to that idea, and you won't give it up because people don't like to be wrong. And often the first thing that you find, it's only one possible explanation. You've just attached yourself to that, and there could be a dozen other reasons. Like, she could have been having a mental health break. She could just be a really violent person. She might have a whole string of ex-boyfriends with scars all over their body, and she routinely stabs them all. He might beat her regularly and tries to say to her, like, well, you know, I hit you because I love you and I wouldn't ever leave you.
And that's where the problem with stuff like this, where it just shows, because a lot of people don't go any deeper into the story. You get the caption of it. And it's things like that then lead people to have those like very strong political, well, we just have to get rid of knives because knives are the problem. If she didn't have access to a knife, they've been able to stab her husband. And if she had shot him, then it would have been, oh, guns aren't, like, it's there's always this problem other than what led her to that point. Because it's not, if that was the only thing that got her there, then she needs a different level of care and help than if it had been just a death by 1,000 cuts that got her to that place.
Exactly. It has different connotations for her recovery, rehabilitation, and punishment, and the same for the husband. Like, because if, say, for example, if she was responding to abuse and a crime committed against her, that would mean that her husband also needs to be investigated and see if there's any crimes to detect, and then punish him accordingly for that. And then she needs to be punished for this crime. But if you just automatically...
But she may not.
Exactly.
She may, if she has been abused and this was that retaliation, then she could have a reasonable defense of self-defense, that she was protecting herself because she thought it was going to lead to a certain place where it's led before. So it would be a whole other defense than if she just hauled off and did it.
This is why, like, I hate those TikTok channels. Some of them have millions of followers, and they call out regular people, everyday people, and they will ruin your life because of some speculation they heard about you.
But even if it turns out that, and we've talked about this before, and it drives me crazy every time I see it, even if the person in that video or in that moment is a piece of shit person, people are allowed to be shitty people. You don't ruin people's entire lives. And I know people would disagree with that, but you don't ruin people's entire lives because they have different political leanings than you do, or different whatever. And again, it's not just that one person. It's not in isolation. That kid now, like, let's say that nurse, the rest of that information didn't come out. If she already had other kids, what happens now? She's going to be in the hospital, and patients aren't going to want her to treat them because she's a racist. Her kids are going to go to school and be like, oh, I saw your mom on the internet. Your mom's a racist. Now her kids are getting bullied. Like, it's a snowball effect that people just think it happens in isolation. You're just going to punish that one person. Their entire family and all their friends get punished as well.
Well, I know a family that this happened to. Like, I'm not related to them or anything before people speculate about information that I haven't given.
They're only speculating about your eating habits.
Yeah, I know. As if I needed to speculate about this. But I knew somebody whose stepbrother had murdered his ex-girlfriend, right? Horrifically just stabbed her to death because she broke up with him. And then everybody else, and then he killed himself. And then all of these people, just random people online, because it got into the national papers and everything like that, they started harassing all the members of this family, most of them who had nothing to do with him, and haven't seen him for like 15 years. And then they were getting death threats and stuff, like, I'm going to rape you and beat you and all this stuff.
But they didn't,
it's like, they had nothing to do with it.
The punishment's got to fit the crime. And that person committed a crime, killed themselves. That little bubble is over, right? Yeah. Everybody's a victim at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, his family, even though he's the family of the perpetrator, they're still victims because their family member did this thing. Their family member killed themselves. Like,
and it's like, why are you threatening, like, the stepsister and the stepmother of the person who committed the crime, who they don't know anything about or have anything to do with because they haven't lived together for 20 years? Yeah.
I think there's this, and there's an Amazon Prime show that season 1 I just finished watching. I actually hope they bring it back for a second season, called, I think it's Tell Me Your Secrets or whatever. And it's a woman who, she was just released from prison because her boyfriend was committing these horrible, horrible crimes. So she was released from prison because they thought she was complicit in it. When they found her, she had amnesia of the events. And then now that she's out of it and her memories are coming back, she's like, oh, fuck, I was innocent the entire time. But everyone thought she was guilty.
Spoiler alert.
Because it came out 2 years ago. So that took us out. So, but everyone thought she was guilty or had to be guilty, because how could you be in a relationship with somebody and not know that they're doing these things? But that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone is okay. Like, you could be completely blindsided that your partner is having an affair, but you can't be completely blindsided that they're doing other nefarious shit. Like, they could be doing anything and you don't know. I
thought the show Dexter showed everybody how people can get away with it.
Right.
You know? And it's not like, if my stepdad said this once, that, like, and I completely disagreed with him about it, and I still do. Like, he was saying that if his girlfriend, say, was addicted to cocaine or something, he'd never know about it, because your partners can have entire lives you don't know about. And I was like, but a drug addiction, though, like,
that presents differently.
Yeah, that is like, that'll affect her personality fundamentally. Killing somebody and being a serial killer or whatever is part of your personality. It's part of who you are. And if you're masking those intentions all through your life, that is very different to adopting a new habit like a drug habit. I mean, for example, I'd be very surprised if my partner didn't know I had an opiate addiction.
I think some drugs may be easier to hide than others. I think some of those drugs would be easier to hide, or depending on, because there are people who are alcoholics who are either so good at hiding it, or they're always drunk that you can't tell the difference between drunk them and not drunk them because of the glimpses of it. So that would be a very different scenario. But like you said, if my husband were to tell me every Wednesday night he's got a poker game with his friends, he could be off doing, I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
I will think he's playing poker. All he has to do is come back with an extra $20 or less $20, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
He could be doing whatever. He could have a whole other family. I don't think you would ever know, especially because if you are that type of person who's committing that level of crime, you are likely clever enough to be above reproach in other aspects of your life so that it doesn't shine any sort of dispersions upon you.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, you got to be the gray man and just kind of just slip through life and not be noticeable.
Not be noticeable, be pleasant. Everybody's like, oh yeah, that guy is a quiet neighbor. That's why they're always quiet neighbors.
Yeah, yeah. They don't want to draw attention to themselves. Exactly.
It's the loud ones that gotta not worry about. Worry about the quiet ones.
Well, the loud ones, you can worry about them for different reasons.
Yeah. Did you hear about the fucking America? Oh, there was a guy in Texas who was shooting off an AR-15, and his neighbors came over to ask him to stop because their baby was asleep. And an 8-year-old child. 4 adults and an 8-year-old, I think.
Yeah. He executed them in the living room.
The fuck? The fuck? I don't know what platform this is on, but I've seen a lot of like Reddit screenshots that have this look and feel. I don't know where it's from. So be me, have a girlfriend, hear about Andrew Tate, decide to look him up, really like his advice. Decide to try it on girlfriend to gain her respect. Be with her one day. Tell her that I cheated on her. I didn't. She is understandably upset. Tell her, yeah, got drunk, fucked some girl, don't remember her name. If you want to leave, you can leave. She actually does. Surprise, fucking prize. Heartbroken, text her every day telling her it wasn't real and I was just following advice I got online to be cool. Tell her to look up Andrew Tate so she'll see what I mean. Pretty sure she blocked me. All my friends hate me now. What the fuck do I do? She was my first girlfriend. I literally have nothing without her.
Oh my God.
He was already in a relationship with someone. Why would anyone think this was a good idea?
Because you're 15 or 16 and you don't have experience with the world yet, and this is exactly who Tate markets himself to. This is what I'm scared about. This is genuinely what I'm worried about with these young men and women.
Yeah. And women do it too. That's the scary part. Like, there's a subreddit. There's 2 subreddits called like the Red Pill, and then there's Red Pill Women. And the Red Pill Women are women like one of them saying, I'm in medical school and I've always wanted to be a doctor, but how am I going to find a traditional relationship if I'm a doctor and he's not a doctor or whatever? And it was just everyone trying to almost tell her to downplay your success. Don't put a lot of extra hours in. Like, don't try to, be good at your job or anything so that your husband isn't weirdly emasculated. And then I got to get off Reddit into another whole, this guy was going on and on about how women seek out men who make more money than they do. So I had commented to say a lot of men in these types of subreddits feel emasculated when their wives or partners make more money than they do. So so he went on a 3-paragraph story about how women who make more money than men will force them to get into a side hustle, break their balls about getting a better job, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, well, how many women have you dated? How many long-term relationships have you had? He says 3. I'm like, how many of them made more money than you did? None. I'm like, so how the fuck do you know how these women are going to behave in a relationship if you don't have any experience with that? And this poor kid likely was having a good relationship with his girlfriend. Why would you decide to look up Andrew Tate and then be like, yeah, I really like his advice? How do you not see the complete package of him, of who he is and what he is?
Because I think it's how people access the media, right? And they access what they're saying. So you just happen by, like, this is why Andrew Tate says things that sound sensible, okay? So as part of this tactic they have is where a dickhead stands next to a good idea. And then 2 things will happen. Either to some people who hate the person, the good idea will look less good. Or the same thing will happen to what this guy is. Oh, he's standing next to a good idea. That must mean he's a good man. Right. And then they've watched the next video, then they go, oh, that sounds a bit off, but he was right about that other thing. So maybe he's right about this too.
It's that hero worship we talk about. It's why people get so surprised when people what surprises me about when people are surprised by movie stars and musicians doing shady shit is that they're still surprised. Like, these people have unfettered access. Nobody around them who says no. They've got more money that they know what to do with. They've experienced everything and are looking for that next thing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I can't. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that this person who's been catered to for the past 30 years would do a terrible thing.
Yeah.
What kills me about this one is that then he told his girlfriend to go look up Andrew Tate. You'll see what I mean. Like he thought she was going to get
that be good.
See Andrew Tate from a woman's perspective and be like, oh yeah, no, that was a totally reasonable thing. That was a totally reasonable thing for him to do. To lie to me about cheating.
I think that the good takeaway advice from this, though, assuming that this is real, obviously, is that girl has good survival instincts.
Absolutely.
She did exactly the right thing. Don't think about his feelings. If he's given off red flags, you don't owe them anything.
And with him, I think the lesson also for him is that don't ruin a good thing. If you are already happy in that relationship, why would you try to manipulate and gaslight and whatever?
Because young boys these days being told by the red pillars that if you're feeling like that, it's because the bitch has gaslighted you into feeling that way. She's going to baby trap you and ruin your life.
It makes me so mad that everyone blames women for everything.
Yeah, because the only reason why a man would ever feel happy and secure is if the woman's manipulated him to it. You're not allowed those feelings. You're not allowed to feel anything. That's
the biggest problem with the incel and the red pill group is that they're even if they get into a healthy relationship, it'll never be healthy on their side of the relationship because they will always feel the woman is just with them until something better comes along. Like they will never appreciate what they have and go from there and just be like, oh yeah, this is what it could be like. They always underestimate or assume and they're just a place filler, which is sad that their self-esteem is that terrible.
But the other thing is, like, why can't people, I mean, this goes for everybody really, why can't you just enjoy things while they're there? Like, why do you have to ruin it? Like, if you're moving apart in your life, right, why do you have to ruin that thing that's happening? Why can't you just part on good terms and move on to the next aspect of your life? And I know that, you can miss people and you can feel sad that they're gone. But what about looking forward to the future and just looking back on that time as a really nice time and you grow apart? Why can't people do that?
I'm not saying you need to own as many pairs of glasses as I do, but I'm also not saying you need to own as many pairs of glasses as I do. Look at the selection of these frames. They are amazing. Head over to GVizzle at the end of this episode, not now. Head over to GVizzle. There is a link and promo code in the description of this video. Promo code GVizzle15 will save you 11% on orders over $50 and 15% on orders over $100. And just come on. Look how beautiful these frames are. I just can't get enough of them. Zlul.com.
34 ways your girlfriend is microcheating and totally getting away with it. And one of the ways is addressing a man by his name unexpectedly. Example, hey Doug, instead of just hey, which breeds a strangely powerful sense of intimacy. The top comment, which is very fitting for this one, is, are straight people okay? And no, we're not.
No, they're
because
not.
This is addressing a man by his name unexpectedly. Hey, Doug, instead of just hey. How is that a strangely powerful sense of intimacy when it's literally people's first names?
And isn't that about building a rapport? So you, breed familiarity with other people. Like, it's just a normal thing.
Absolutely. Imagine this guy, the guy who wrote this, being in like a grocery store with his girlfriend and her reading the cashier's name tag and be like, all right, thanks. Thanks, Mark. He's like, are you
thanks, Brenda. Yeah. And also, it's only a man as well. So, like, they're only worried about men. What if your girlfriend's bisexual and you don't know?
She could even be bi-curious. She could be open, whatever. I think that's it's like, I've known a couple of couples where both people in the couple will feel comfortable commenting if they see a beautiful woman. But neither of them will call out a good-looking man because the guy in the relationship thinks it makes him gay to do so instead of just somebody who can recognize a good-looking person. And then the woman in the relationship doesn't do so because it'll make her husband or boyfriend feel bad because he'll be comparing himself to that guy. Where, I mean, there have been times I've been walking down the street with my husband and I'll see a beautiful woman and I'm like, oh my gosh, she is gorgeous. And I'm like, where? But we can also do the same thing. If we're like in a store and I walk out, I can be like, oh, that was a good looking guy. And I'm like, yeah, he was a good looking man. But this, hey, I hope my husband doesn't read this or he's going to think I'm having an affair with my neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, all of this, anyway, I don't like this trend of these micro things. you know, like microaggressions and stuff. And people, I don't think they understand what micro means, for one thing. Like, so a micro expression, right, is a legit thing, but a micro expression, you can't really detect it with your eyes. Like, it's so quick and small. It's
You would have to
tiny.
be expertly trained to be able to detect it with your eyes.
Yeah, and then like the people who are naturals that spot them don't realize they've spotted them because it's happened on like a really perceptual level, basically, like not a obvious level, explicit. It's more implicit, you know.
You have watched the Tim Roth show Lie to Me?
Yeah, and then what annoys me, like, I like the show for entertainment value, but in terms of science, it's pretty poor.
Well, it's not a documentary.
No, but it's signed off by Paul Ekman and he loves it. And then Paul Ekman, the guy that's into all of this stuff, thinks that the stuff in the show is real. That's the problem I have with it, academically, is that the stuff that they're talking about, Paul Ekman agrees with it and thinks it's real. But Paul Ekman is just a charlatan full of bad science. So, you know, he's an idiot, basically, in academic terms. Like, his science is pretty shoddy. Like, his scientific processes are very good. He doesn't design the studies in a way that is kind of, he's trying to test a hypothesis, but he's not testing it in the right way and looking at the right variables. He's doing it in a way that he's building a test to prove what he wants to prove, rather than trying to find out the reality of what something is. That is meaningless unless you read the actual studies. But
gotcha. I have it somewhere. I don't know if it's up here or downstairs, but there was an FBI profiler who then became like a poker star because of all the lessons that he learned from profiling people and watching their behavior and watching their body language led him to be a superstar in the world of poker. And he wrote a book about it. Yeah. So you too can be a superstar poker player.
He probably has a bunch of other skills that makes him a good poker player too. And like, he's probably got the skill set to be a pro poker player, but then his training has given him a bit of an edge over his opponents, which means he'll win more often than he loses. It won't definitively make everybody excellent poker players. But yeah.
You're full of disclaimers today, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, it's important. Like, when it comes to science stuff, like, people get really roped into things because of the way that it's explained by journalists and TV shows. Like, so what I was trying to say about the micro expression thing is that the way that they show them a Lie to Me, they're not that big. Like, they make them out, they have to make it obvious to the audience, but micro expressions don't look like that. No,
which is why they would show like a collage of 12 different people making the same facial expression so that you could.
Yeah, but those aren't micro expressions. So, like, even the collage that they show, those aren't micro expressions.
Yes, sir, I'm aware.
But other people aren't. The ones that don't follow psychology and stuff, they won't know. They'll watch the show and then they'll think it's real, which is why I'm explaining it here now. I'm not explaining it for you. I'm explaining it for everyone else.
But that's assuming that people don't get it, that they wouldn't realize they're watching television entertainment.
No, because it's the way it's delivered, and like, it's not about the audience being stupid. It's about the writers and producers of the show patronizing their audience.
How do you think they were patronizing their audience?
Well, for what I've just said, they've made it all really obvious, and they assume.
Well, yeah, they have to make it palatable and digestible for the average person who's just watching.
But when it's science stuff, though, it's like people have a tendency then to think it's real because it's got the backing of Paul Ekman. Like, the Tim Roth character is based on Paul Ekman, and it's based on all of his research specifically. And he comes out and talks about how great the show is and stuff. So then people would then watch it as if it's a documentary, not a piece of entertainment. And then
I don't know. I think you're selling people short. I think they would get it.
No, I've had people talk to me about it. I've read forums and stuff, and like, all the conversations I have with people about things like deception and micro expressions and things who have seen the show think it's real, like, that it really works this way. And it's to do with the way that they talk about the science and the way that the micro expressions are presented, and the kind of like how sure they are in their conclusions about somebody during the case. It doesn't work like that in real life.
So are those the same type of people who watch CSI and think like, oh yeah, a license plate picture from 300 feet away, you can totally blow it up into poster size?
No idea. I just find that with psychology, things are a bit different because because typically psychology is presented so poorly in journalism anyway. And there are a lot of stuff that gets more coverage, so people have a better idea about things. And like I say, it's not, and it kind of embeds itself in your psyche as well, that it sets your expectations unconsciously for the way that things work. And it's, like I say, it's nothing to do with the audience, or I'm not calling them stupid or anything, or like they're not going to get it. It's entirely to do with the manipulations of the people that make the show. They do it willfully. Something like deception and stuff, it doesn't have to be jazzed up and made sexier because it already is interesting. It's like the show The Tudors. Why the fuck did they feel the need to jazz up and make the Tudors all sexy in action? The Tudors already were. They're the most salacious royal family we've ever had. You didn't have to jazz them up and make them sexy. Henry VIII was already a party boy and a warrior prince and all that stuff. You didn't have to fucking do what they did in that show.
What did they do in that show?
Oh, they just made it like one big sexy romp thing with all his floozies running around and stuff. And
Yeah, that's what people want to see.
High drama. Yeah, no, but you don't need to do it, is what I'm saying. Like it's you can give people like a more accurate representation of history without doing this extra stuff to make it sexy and salacious when the Tudors already were.
But when there's so much competition for eyeballs on TV, you've got to catch people quickly. So you've got to make it even more than it really was, because people are going to lose interest, or they're going to want to see things.
I don't think so.
In a more compact way.
I don't think so.
There's a lot of TV shows out there. You got to capture people's attentions.
Yeah, but that's a problem for the marketing team and the advertisers, surely. Once people watch a show that's genuine, like the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, that was accurate to the book. It was like, if it had been real, it was very accurate historically. That excellent costumes, deep plots, not much action, and people flocked to that show in droves, and it showed that it can be done. What people don't like is vacuous trash, which Game of Thrones turned into. It turned into all the stuff about the sex and the drama and just like no deep plots or thinking or anything. And then people ended up hating the show because it became more like all the other shows out there, which is shows like The Tudors. People wanted something that was more real and tangible. And
I never watched.
And like with The Tudors, like out of everybody, they don't need drama added. They're already dramatic. You don't have to make anything up with them. They're already fucking each other and having big parties and killing everybody and shit, you know? Honestly. And
I think you've been holding on to that one fun for a while.
I have, yeah. It really bothers me because at the end of the day, I find it really patronizing of people in audiences, because they're assuming that you don't have the attention span to watch a proper plot, and they're assuming that you're not going to get it anyway because the average person's too stupid in their mind when they're not.
I don't know that that's the case. I think they just try to make things like with everything. It's like the clickbait titles on news stories. They try to amp everything up. I don't know that if they wanted it to be that historically accurate, they probably would have made it a documentary or made it a history-based series versus let's just turn the Tudors into a nighttime soap opera.
Well, from what I remember is that they were marketing it originally as if it was a Tudor version of Rome, the TV series Rome, which was pretty good. The first season was amazing, but then the second season they ruined because they tried to make it more like other shows to get a bigger audience. But the problem wasn't the audience, the problem was their marketing. They didn't market it to anybody or give it a good time slot, so nobody watched it. But
same thing happened to Firefly. They started to do it all out of whack, and I mean that was a brilliant show. People are still bent about it all these years later, but they just didn't. I think they aired episodes out of order. They didn't put them on consistent evenings, so it never stood a chance.
Yeah, exactly. And then these companies, the producers and the people that run all these TV companies, they base faulty conclusions on shit data. And with data, if you put shit in, you get shit out. And so they're making all of these assumptions about the modern audiences, which is why you've seen so much drivel being churned out at the moment by places like Disney that nobody wants to watch, and it doesn't satisfy anybody. And it's because they think they know the audience that they want to get, and they have no fucking clue because they're not.
I think music does it too, right? Like after Alanis Morissette became popular.
Mm.
And I know this is going back 25 years, but she kind of filled a niche in the angry young woman singing. And then after she did it and had that big album, everybody was an Alanis Morissette knockoff because there were musician and music producers like, oh, you like her? So you're going to like 20 of them. But then by the time you get to that 20th one, everyone's oversaturated and looking for the next thing. So then that just kind of washes. It's like boy bands. There was one boy band, and then there was 10 boy bands, and then everyone was like, fuck, we're over boy bands, and leaves. And I think TV does the same thing. As soon as you get that one formula that works, you just shove it into people's faces, and just instead of being like, we're going to give people what they like, it's we're going to give people this and then they're going to like it.
Yeah. And then the conclusions that they get out of the things that worked are completely off kilter with what people actually liked about it in the first place, you know?
I wonder if they get that, oh, this episode had more viewers than other episodes, so we got to do more of that.
Yeah.
And then that's where the direction of it goes.
Yeah. It's fucking bonkers.
It's bunk.
I'm struggling to find new shows that I like anymore.
We've scaled back our available viewing options. Like we've cut off Netflix, we've cut off a bunch of like other streaming services just because we were paying a fortune for all these options and there was never anything fucking on.
Yeah.
never anything to watch. So we're like, fuck it. It's summertime. We're gonna be like feral cats and just spend all of our time outside. We'll figure that out later. But you're right. Like I'll find the occasional show on Amazon. I'll watch it and then it's like, oh yeah, it got canceled after the first season. Even though it was a great show, they just never picked them back up again.
Yeah. And they picked up some
and with the cliffhanger. I want to know what happens.
And then it's weird how something like the Kardashians could be so successful.
I think that's more. There's something that hits different, I think, for some people with reality shows because you're looking at real people, even though they're probably now just playing a role. That it's like when people watch shows like Hoarders. I think a lot of people watch it because it makes them feel better. Like, oh, I got a lot of shit going on, but at least my life's not that bad, right?
Yeah.
My basement's messy, but it's not that messy. And then it could be my family's got drama, but it doesn't have that level of drama. So I think it's a means of being able to be like, whew, we could be worse. They've got all that money and they're still fucked up. It could be worse.
But again, like the lessons they take from it are so weird. Like with the Big Brother show. I don't know if you guys have that in Canada. Yeah. And then the first 2 seasons of that were actually pretty good because they had regular people, like balanced people. And shit was interesting. Just watching how people operate in this shared house of people they don't know.
Yeah.
And then 3rd season comes along and they start getting in nutter after nutter. People deliberately with opposing personality types.
They fit. I think they when it was so new, they didn't know what would work and what didn't. And what worked about it was that it was new and it was real. There's roles that they play to stir up this drama. So every season is just like the same cast of characters with different faces because they got to bring in the good-looking idiot. They got to bring the smart person who thinks they're over it. There's always those roles, but they've gotten. There's a what the fuck is wrong with you in here that has gotten even darker. So the Spanish Big Brother made a contestant watch her own rape.
What?
She was passed out drunk in a room. One of the other contestants went into the room, assaulted her, and then they put her into the diary room and made her watch her own assault.
What the fuck is wrong with them?
That's what happens when you stop seeing people as people. Like they were just pawns to them, and they're trying to find a way to make money off of this salacious story, this news story, or this TV moment that and imagine the people who were complicit in that, because they've got to have people there watching them 24/7 so that like, okay, that's a good clip. Let's cut that out and save it for later.
Yeah.
So people behind the scenes watched this go down. And then thought, oh, yeah, we should show her. We should make her watch this. At no point did they think we should stop this from happening. No, we should just air it on television and make her watch it.
That is fucked up.
I know it's fucked up.
I'm not ready to do violence to people. Fuck me.
I know.
That is
fuck.
Like
that poor woman. of not only having been assaulted in the first place, there's that, but then knowing that people watched it happen and did nothing, that the people who she's been living in this house with and thought she probably trusted would do that to her. And then to have to relive it all over again with people being like, hey, look what happened to you last night. Like that, that's a whole new level of the sun needs to supernova. And
that is a pathological level of just a lack of empathy. And like that, those people that stood there and watched her, every single person who was on that shift watching that, they're all complicit. They all raped her too. Like they need to be fucking strung up by the yardarm for that.
Absolutely.
That totally made me forget what I was going to say. So, Big Brother over here, right? So we had a contestant that was turned into a fucking spectacle. She was called Jade Goody, I think her name was. But she was really disgusting, like really loud-mouthed, like people would refer to her as council house trash, basically. And like she was really common and sweared all the time. She was shit at resolving conflicts, just of arguments with people. And then she was turned into just like a caricature of a human being, and everybody was just disgusting towards her. And nobody ever thought to ask, well, why is she like that? Like,
but I wonder if part of it was that she is like that, or the producers.
Oh no,
like,
she was.
Do this, act like this, because then it'll get us more ratings.
Basically, it was a case of they could see what they had with her, so they forced the contestants into situations which would make Jade be Jade.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I think that like a couple of years after Big Brother, and she got cancer, and then so people were in her life a bit more in terms of reality stuff, and then they saw what her family were like and why she is the way she is, of how like she learned all these behaviors growing up as a kid. She was in quite some violent situations and a really deprived upbringing, and then she was the product of that upbringing. But while she was on this show, the producers aren't giving her any mental health support. People are just treating her like shit and judging her. Like, all right, she's not a palatable person, and she is pretty gross and really kind of aggressive and overbearing and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you're all just sitting there on your couches criticizing this woman and not asking yourself why. Like, how has society put that person out there like that? And, you know, if you, and this comes back to what I was saying at the start, like, if you don't work to understand the reasons of why somebody's like it, you're not giving them excuses for them being the way that they are in their bad behaviors. You're trying to figure out why, so you can stop it happening to somebody else.
And with that case, they were probably exacerbating it and making things worse. So if she already did have these mental health issues, they just made those mental health issues worse for ratings, to get people to be entertained by it. Yeah.
So like she basically would present, like, obviously this isn't diagnosis or anything, but she presented as if she was like a very extroverted, manic person that probably had borderline or maybe bipolar, and she was going through a manic phase, and then combined with her upbringing, that would like make a pretty volatile person. And then they poked the bear to make it more entertaining. Yeah, basically. Yeah. So there was I saw a news article about Big Brother Toronto or Canada. I think it's filmed in Toronto, and there are these two women in the house who are kind of bullying a Black woman in the house and making these racist comments. And so they tell the story, and like I'm reading the story, and then the comments that other people are making about it were like shocked that it was happening in Canada. Like, yeah, we have racism too, right? Like, it's also quite a post-racial we're not just the land of Nanaimo bars and Putin. We also have some shitty people here, but they were so floored. What? Canada's racist? Yeah. Racists are everywhere. Yeah, they may not be as aggressively outward as they are in some other places, but yes, it does exist here. Yeah. Wannabe mayor of Toronto, don't know anything about him, don't know his political views, but Jordan Peterson was interviewing him on his channel the other day, and I don't know why. Like, it's local politics to Toronto. Why are you putting that on your YouTube channel of 6 million followers? I mean, I know he's a resident of the Toronto area, but you know. But his 6 million followers aren't. What do they care? Yeah. I just thought it was a really odd thing to do. Considering that's not, like, if it was his thing that he usually did, where, you know, you get involved in local politics, want to raise awareness about it, I would understand that. But he never does that. That's never his focus. And then all of a sudden, like, he's given this bloke, like, an unfair leg up. He could be changing directions. Yeah.
refreshing his content, as it were.
I just think it's so unfair to like the other candidates, you know, to give somebody that big of a leg up. And like it could backfire on this bloke as well.
It could, because for the people who like Jordan Peterson, they'll be like, oh, he backs this guy, so we'll back this guy. But then there's just as many people who don't like Jordan Peterson, so they're like, oh, I will purposefully not, which they would have probably already known anyway.
Yeah. This was random as well.
My girlfriend won't have sex with me, so I made her watch me masturbate. My girlfriend had been feeling sick for a couple of days and as a result has been denying my sexual advances. By the third day, I was getting fed up with constantly being shut down. So when we went to sleep that night, I told her if she wasn't going to have sex with me, she could at least help me come. I told her I was going to jerk off to porn and she was going to watch. I took out my laptop to play the porn and in a split second, I had a terrible idea. I don't know why I decided to do this, but I pulled up a saved video I had of me and an ex-girlfriend. I pressed play and put the laptop in a place we could both see it. Now, it took her a few seconds to realize what was on the screen, but the second she did, she went all quiet. She tried to look away, but I kept yelling at her to look at me while I jerked off. I finished in a towel and went to sleep. I don't know why I did it, but I've since deleted all old pics and videos I had of exes, and I feel terrible that I did this to my girlfriend. There's so many things to unpack here.
Yeah, fucking hell. First of all, why is she still his girlfriend? She needs to dump that piece of shit straight away.
Absolutely.
The second thing is he didn't mention apologizing to her or trying to do right by her after doing something so traumatic and horrific. Thirdly, that's actually sexual assault, whether you're in the relationship or not. She clearly turned off her consent. She took it back, and then you continued.
She never consented in the first place. There was no consent to withdraw. She was not good about this at all.
That is true. So like he used coercion to get her involved in the first place. And then when she actually so he kind of forced her to go along with it in the first place. So there was no consent given. And so he used coercion, which is sexual assault. Like if you look up the definition, coercion counts. And then when she actually made a physical attempt to leave, like she went all quiet and tried to look away to physically withdraw her consent, so there was no ambiguity involved, then he still made her do it and got violent as well, like yelling at her. So that is a prelude to physical violence. If you're in an abusive relationship, you know, people get angry and they yell, that does happen. But in this kind of sexual assault situation, that's intimidating. And
the lack of empathy towards, like, she was sick.
Yeah.
And he doesn't see that his girlfriend is sick and needs care. All he sees is that he is denying me sex.
I need to be milked.
The third day, by the third day, he couldn't manage.
Yeah.
Like, what does he do when she's under? I mean, maybe they have sex while she's on her period. That's not my thing, but it's for somebody. But the third day, I was getting fed up with constantly being shut down. She was sick.
Yeah.
And why do you need an audience to masturbate? You could have just let her be sick, bring her some chicken soup, ask if she's okay, and then go take care of your own needs elsewhere without having to force her while she's sick to watch you do this.
Yeah, obviously not diagnosis. This is just my gut feeling on this. It feels like a punishment thing. So, okay, well, you can't service me, so I'm going to punish you for not being able to. So you're sick and you're not rising to the occasion and fulfilling your obligations to me. So I'm going to punish you for doing that.
And double down with, you're not going to do it, but watch my ex-girlfriend do it.
Yeah, yeah.
The fact that he even still has these videos of his ex-girlfriend.
It's a bit weird.
It is. I mean, he's since deleted them, but that was just an extra level of punishment. It almost feels like threatening. Like, if you're not going to do it, look, I can find, this person did, I can find somebody else who's going to.
Exactly.
Versus just some random nameless, faceless person.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope she broke up with him.
I really do. Oh God, I don't know how people could treat somebody like this, like anybody, let alone somebody that you care about. Like, why would that be in your fucking mind to punish someone in that way?
I think it all comes back to, like, what we talked about earlier about the perspective that some of these men have on women because of men like Andrew Tate, that that guy told his girlfriend they were perfectly happy, it sounds like, that he cheated to get her to respect him. This is one of those other things of where it's, you're not seeing your partner, your girlfriend, as a complete person with their own autonomy and they're just there to service you, to please you. And like the fact that the audacity that she had to get sick for a couple of days and not, right? Like he's just not seeing her as, there's just no empathy there.
Yeah. She's a sex worker basically to him.
Pretty much.
Right. This is where, like, this is a really good example actually of where it goes. So I've been trying to think of a way to explain why it's so bad that I think I showed you a clip a while ago from Andrew Clavin, and he was talking to, I think, Ben Shapiro or Michael Knowles or somebody, and he was talking about how he didn't see his wife as an autonomous, free-thinking, sentient being until about 10 or 15 years into their marriage. And then it clicked for him that she was an autonomous thinking, like, these are his words. Like, he thought of her like that, as non-sentient. This is like what I've been struggling to find an example to show people what the consequences are of not seeing a human being as a human being. And this is it, that like, this is how just to go there, because the Nazis, you know, they got away with so much is because they saw people as Untermensch, underhuman.
Slavery was the same thing. Like, wasn't a black man 3/5 of a white man once upon a time?
Well, in the Middle East, I don't think white people were seen as humans when we were slaves in the Middle East either. So
it takes, you have to really separate yourself from any of those. Like, you do, I think you do have to see people as not people, as just objects or things, to be able to treat somebody that way.
Yeah. She's basically just a toy that doesn't work. And so we're just going to abuse the toy until it can't function anymore. Yeah. And
this was supposed to be a light episode.
At least we dealt with it lightly. We didn't say anything like he should be euthanized, you know? We didn't say he should be sterilized either. Or sent to the gas tank.
We did not say it out loud.
No. Or castrated. I never would suggest such a thing. No, but I tell you what does need to be done, though, is that it's a shame he didn't record it, because he's admitted to a crime here. So that probably needs to go to the police if the girlfriend ever saw that, because he is admitted to the crime.
Yes, which you'd think hopefully somebody would do something with that.
Yeah.
I wonder if it did, or if it just stayed there.
Yeah.
Where if, like, that is one of those instances where you can say to somebody, we need to find who this man is, we need to get him, not someone just yelling at a McDonald's employee.
Yeah, that's the other thing that pisses me off about that stuff, because here we have somebody actually admitting to a crime, but because it's anonymous and we don't know who they are, these big name creators can't get any clout from it, so they're not going to talk about it because it can't make them look better. They don't have a target to show and all that stuff.
And they don't have a video that they could point to and look shocked at.
Exactly. That's
the ones that piss me off the most are the ones that get like, and then we talked about this a little while ago. There's one who person A shows a video making fun of person B, and then person C shows that video in its entirety to give person B shit for showing person A in the first place. Like, but you show them again. The person who showed it originally had 2,000 followers. You've got 2.5 million followers, and now you're just abusing that person all over again.
And it's because at the heart that all they want to do is get love and admiration themselves, because they have like these, they want to stroke their own egos and feel good about themselves. Like when people say, I think sometimes students don't realize how it can come across, but the amount of psychology students that say, I want to do psychology because I want to help people one day. And you're like, okay, you know, that's the Messiah complex, right? That's not a healthy thing to have. You shouldn't do psychology because you want to help people.
Most things I think happen from a selfish perspective. Like it came up in when I was doing the trivia questions that there was a study about why people donate to charity, and the majority of people donate to charity because it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
They don't care who they're helping. It makes them be like, yeah.
But when it comes to psychology, though, and people study it to then help people, like that isn't. I think it's because with a student, they're saying what they think that you want to hear. So that's why I think most of them say it, not because they really feel it. But when it becomes a Messiah complex, is somebody really does feel that I should be helping those people because I'm the only one that can. I have the skills and I need them to be better.
Into it. I feel like you're reading too much into it.
No, I'm talking about a real thing. So there was a...
No, I get the Messiah complex is real, but to I don't know that you can assume that everybody who says I want to
didn't
help
know.
people is.
No, I didn't. I said, I just said that, like, students say what they think that their academics, their lecturers want to hear, right?
How do
So
you know that?
well, because of the studies on it. So, like, what I'm saying is, it's like it's observer bias. So you get interviews and stuff all the time. Like, you have to find different ways of getting the information you want out of people. But if you say to a psychology student, why do you want to study psychology? They think they need to present themselves as caring, right? So there's going to be quite a lot of them that say, well, I want to help people, even though, like, it's a bit creepy and weird, and they don't actually feel it that way. There's probably a bunch of other reasons why they want to help people, why they want to study psychology. But the first thing most of them come out with is, I want to help people.
Why do you think saying I want to help people is creepy and weird?
Well, that Messiah complex stuff. I'm talking about being a psychologist and an academic, and what I know about the Messiah complex. It makes it come across as creepy and weird. Like, I'm not saying that it is. It feels creepy and weird.
So you said that it comes across as creepy because you know, based on the education, but they don't know that it comes across as creepy because they are just speaking to whomever, and it's the same answer that they've probably given everybody.
Yeah, but like, I did the caveat that, like, you know that they're not like that, and you're not painting all the people with that brush. I'm just saying that you're aware of this is a thing, and that when you bring in your expertise, it's like, oh, but then you think about it and you're like, oh no, that's only a very small amount of people, and they do present a bit differently. It's just that people don't realize how they come across in different situations depending on who they're talking to. Like, people with different life experiences and expertise, you could come across very differently by saying the same thing to different people. Like, 10 different people could get a different opinion of you.